For more on Russia's attack, we bring in Kervin Aucoin. He's a former lead intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance coordinator for the U.S. Army in Europe. He's also the host of the podcast This Week Explained. Good morning, Kervin. It's good to see you. We just heard the U.S. strongly condemning the attacks, and Ukraine has been demanding to use long-range weapons now with Russia for a while. Do you think incidents like this, or this incident, could help Ukraine and make lifting those restrictions more likely?
Yeah, absolutely. The more, and first of all, thank you for having me on. It's been a busy week in Ukraine, and it's just Tuesday. So, yeah, look, what Ukraine's trying to do here is get their Western allies to provide more of these defensive munitions. Um, but what's really been surprising and what's happened is Ukraine's ability to attack Russia within on Russian soil. And recently, we just found out over the weekend that Ukraine has domestically developed a long range missile that is about the same range as the U.S. provided ATACMS. And so Ukraine is hearing all of this chatter all over social media and within different governments, and realizing that those Western provided munitions may be few and far between now. So they're starting to develop their own.
Right, and we want to get to that in a little bit. But Zelensky actually came out and made a statement in which he said there should be no limit on the range of weapons. What kind of difference would lifting those restrictions make in the battlefield?
Well, I mean, it's going to do a lot in helping Ukraine actually be offensive instead of defensive. We've seen it be too reactionary from Western forces. And so what Ukraine wants to do is take the battle to Russia, continue to attack Russian sites, and what they're trying to do here is there's a psychological portion to it, and it is to show the Russian people that they're not safe, that probably their government does not have their back, and they need to start fighting back against that. So it's both tactical and strategic.
So, since you just mentioned Ukraine is working on their own weapons, do you think they can get self-sufficient in a way that will actually make a difference in the war in time?
I mean, over time, it's not going to make a difference in this war, but over time, it'll make a difference for Ukraine's own sovereignty to protect itself, not utilize the Western provided munitions. But right now, in this war, within the next 3 to 5 years, if this war continues, Ukraine's going to need those Russian provided weapons, or what the Biden administration has claimed that Russia will not win. That's going to happen. Russia is going to win this war without the support of those Western forces. We've seen it throughout this entire war. The Ukraine has been able to push back Russia solely based on the munitions that they're getting from Western allies. But now it looks like they're going to do this on their own, and see if that makes a difference. And hopefully it does.
So let's talk about what happened with this widespread attack. Do you see a strategy behind that?
Yeah, it goes back to what I said about Ukraine. So Russia's doing the exact same thing. First, they're trying to hit critical infrastructure, trying to just throw down the energy sector, and there's a psychological portion to this, and that portion is that, as you showed footage of Ukrainian civilians hiding in their subway systems, those every alarm that goes off is a mental note to every Ukrainian citizen that they are in danger and they have to get into these bunkers, and they don't know if they're safe on a day-to-day basis. There's a psychological portion of it to call on Zelensky maybe to go to the negotiating table to get a pro-Russian negotiation or a ceasefire done in this. And the other portion of this is to knock out all of that infrastructure. The Ukrainian infrastructure really helps the Ukrainian military in this fight. And so you knock down all of the Ukrainian infrastructure, their critical infrastructure, and that's going to slow down those offensive movements, especially across the border into Russia.
And could this also be, by any chance, maybe an attempt to retaliate or chip away at the Kursk incursion?
Yeah, it's definitely the beginning of the retaliation, but as we've seen another wave of attacks happen this morning. So Russia's not done. I don't think these widespread munitions or widespread strikes across Ukraine are what Putin, or it's the only thing that Putin wants to do. He's got another plan in place in order to retaliate for that incursion into Kursk and the possible one into Belgorod that all the Russian Telegram mill bloggers are talking about right now.
Hmm. Can you quickly also go into, you just mentioned that it's a lot of infrastructure was targeted. With winter approaching, many people are talking about that. How significant and how far back does that throw Ukraine?
Yeah, it's very significant, especially in the wintertime. What we see in the winter is a slowdown of fighting, especially on the ground. As we get into November, we're going to see the sludge on the ground slow down forces. So we're going to see a lot of air to ground missiles or ground to ground missiles and stuff like that. Um, yeah, it's really going to set Ukraine back if their energy infrastructure goes down. If they're not able to heat houses during the winter time frame, that is going to take a toll on the Ukrainian people, and that is going to go back to what I said about the psychological warfare. That's going to be in the forefront of their mind during every single strike that happens.
Well, thank you so much, Kervin Aquin, for those great insights. I appreciate that.
Thank you.